Hello friends, and welcome back to Rachel's Baking Corner. Today we will be making biscuits and gravy. Ooh, so excited! So my boyfriend has been asking for this for dinner, like breakfast for dinner, for a very long time. So I will be fulfilling his wish today and turning it into a nice video for you. So what's going to be a little interesting about this recipe is I'm actually using two different recipes. I'm doing one recipe for the biscuits and one recipe for the sausage gravy, the country gravy. So the biscuits is actually a 7-Up biscuit. I've never heard of such a thing before. My boyfriend's stepdad said I should make them. So I was like, well, I'm thinking of doing biscuits and gravy, so why not? So we're gonna try this today. Don't know if these biscuits are gonna taste super sweet or like soda pop, but hey, this is Rachel's Baking Corner. We like to experiment and play around with recipes, so that's what we're gonna do today. So let's talk biscuits first. This is a recipe that is from angiesouthernkitchen.com. This is clearly the sweetest Southern mama ever. Just please, even if you don't make this recipe, go look at this recipe. It is the cutest thing in the whole world. I laughed multiple times while I was looking through this because it's so cute. I am doing the halved recipe because this is dinner for my boyfriend and I. So I'm doing a bit of a smaller recipe. This is 2 cups of Bisquick. If you don't know what Bisquick is, that is like a prepared pancake mix that you just add like eggs and water to. So 2 cups of that. We have 1/2 cup of sour cream. We're gonna be using about 1/2 cup of 7-Up, and then 1/4 cup of butter melted. I'm going to prepare my biscuits in a casserole dish, because essentially we're going to be putting the melted butter on the bottom of this pan, putting the biscuits in there, and then baking it in that melted butter, which sounds like the most Southern thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm so excited to taste it. So when it comes to the sausage gravy, I'm doing 1/2 pound of pork breakfast sausage. This is like Jimmy Dean. A tablespoon of butter. I'm doing 1/3 cup of flour. I didn't really know what that would be, so I weighed 1/3 cup of flour. It was 50 grams, so I'm doing 25 grams of all-purpose flour. It's the easiest way to put it for you. And then I will be doing 1.5 to 2 cups of milk, depending on how thick or thin I need to make my gravy. For our seasoning, we have 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. You don't have to measure those things. You can just throw it in there. Sorry, whoever wrote this recipe, I'm just saying. So we're gonna do this in 2 parts. We're gonna do biscuits first, and while the biscuits are baking, we will work on our sausage gravy. I have a mixing bowl to make my dough. I have my casserole dish to bake my biscuits, and then I will be using my induction burner to cook the gravy. Again, that is not mandatory. You can use your regular stove. I just do that for the convenience of filming. So blah, blah, blah. Let's get cooking. I'm so excited for Leonard. Breakfast for dinner? Breakfast for dinner. Let's do it. So I just thought about this. I'm gonna use my rubber silicone bench scraper or bowl scraper to make this dough, because I think that might be easier. So speaking of which, let's add our Bisquick to our mixing bowl. I guess I could have just had my Bisquick in the mixing bowl in the first place, but whatever. And then we're gonna add our sour cream. So it says to cut into the flour, and from my very brief experience with pie crusts, that usually means that you just kind of chop into the flour until the sour cream and the flour are in a bunch of crumbles. Ooh, that was so descriptive, Rachel. You're basically cutting up the flour into a bunch of little pieces, and then those pieces are being coated in flour, and then you keep cutting them until you get kind of this like wet sand consistency. Okay, a lot of that sour cream is kind of stuck to my spatula. So, oh, a bunch of it has. Whoops, let's keep cutting. My bad. Let me show you what this looks like real quick. Here's what we're working with. This is just the sour cream and the flour. Cut up, it's very soft, kind of like wet sand. Still some solid sour cream, still some soft granules of flour, but we're getting there. Chop, 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 chop. So now we're gonna add our 7-Up. I have not opened this yet because I just thought it'd be really satisfying to do on camera. I haven't had a 7-Up in a very long time. I'm not a big soda gal, just not. Half of a cup. Just wondered if you could hear that very satisfying bubble. Okay, I'm gonna taste this. I mean, maybe if I tried them side by side, I could tell a difference, but it tastes just like Sprite to me. 7-Up, Sprite, it's the same thing. So not only do you have an ingredient to your biscuits, but you have a refreshing beverage while you're making it. How great. Let's add our 7-Up. We're gonna keep cutting into that. Smells very sweet. I'm a little concerned. Seems very wet too. My gosh. Seems like a lot. It's very wet. Is this right? Is this right? How am I supposed to cut this? Then pat out with my hand and roll it. Okay, I think we're gonna add a little more Bisquick to this because this is not workable. This is plop. This is slop. This is mush. Oh, please. So I got some more Bisquick. Yeah, this is definitely just too moist. So we're gonna add a little more flour or Bisquick. I'm just gonna do it with my hand. Just a little bit at a time. You'll notice I put saran wrap on my table because we're about to knead this out, so I wanted to have some protection on my table before I do that. I struggle with recipes that require me to get messy. Not really a fan. I don't like getting my hands super dirty. It's just not in my nature. I just don't like when things stick to me. It's very annoying. We're gonna just dust some more Bisquick on it. I'm not gonna use flour. I'm gonna keep with the Bisquick theme here. Oh, it's sticking to me so badly. And we're just gonna kind of knead it out a little bit until it's a little more together. Okay, I'm gonna just press this out. I'm not gonna knead it too much because I'm overstimulated. But it's manageable right now. So we're just gonna press this out. Oh gosh. Okay, let me wash my hands off before I have a panic attack. I'll be right back. So I have my butter melted. I'm gonna pour it into my baking dish. How shall I cut these? I don't have a cookie cutter. I don't have a cookie cutter, so I'm gonna use a cup. I don't know what else to do. I'm gonna dust it in a little bit of the Bisquick. And I'm gonna just cut. So you cut and then you add it to your pan with the butter. They're still very sticky. Let's actually this all up. Let's get all messy again. Shoot me. Oh, this sucks. Okay, let's add more Bisquick because it's still just way too wet. Oh, gosh. I hate this so much. Oh. Okay, we're calling that good. Get a little more flour. Press that out. And there's no point in washing our hands. Let's just do it. That's better. Wonder if these ones are going to turn out good. We'll see. This just seems better, but oh well. Let's take these out. These first ones. Those are just rejects. We're not doing those now. We have something a lot better now, so we're going to do that instead. They're going to poof up together, and that's all right. Holy smokes, I have a lot of cleaning to do. Remember how I said we get really messy in Rachel's baking corner? Yeah, I meant it. These are going to go into a 425-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes until golden brown and puffy. All right? I will see you shortly with a clean station and clean hands and hopefully a better state of mind. Our biscuits are done. They smell so good. They puffed up beautifully. I'm so excited to try them. All right, so our biscuits are done baking. Now it's time to assemble our country gravy with sausage. I'm really nervous, but also excited at the same time. I can't imagine this being terribly difficult. So essentially we are going to brown our pork sausage and get that nice and ground up, broken up, cooked really good. And then we are going to add our flour and our butter and let that cook up a little bit to start building a roux. Then we're gonna add our milk and our seasoning and let that cook down until it becomes this thick, luscious gravy. Sounds good. Hopefully it'll work out that easily. If you're not familiar with gravies, they are not as scary as they seem. So just trust the process. They're very easy. So I'm going to turn my induction burner on. It's a little loud. I'm gonna add my pork sausage. Again, I'm doing half of this recipe. So I'm only doing half a pound. Now I have this nifty little tool that helps you kind of break your meat up so that it's easier to get it into smaller pieces. I don't know what this is actually called, so if you know what the name of this contraption is, let me know in the comments down below. It just helps break it up. So we're gonna cook this for about 8 to 10 minutes until it's fully cooked. So I'm switching over to my regular spatula now to just keep breaking this up. It smells so good. I hope you can see me behind all this steam. So my favorite part about breakfast sausage is getting really pretty caramelization on it. So we want this to get nice and cooked. Here is our breakfast sausage. Really starting to pick up some color. Smells so stinking delicious. My trick is to just leave it alone for a few minutes and then start stirring it again. So we're definitely getting somewhere. We're getting some really beautiful color, some gorgeous caramelization on that pork. I believe Jimmy Dean or like this kind of breakfast sausage has some sugar or maple in it to help it caramelize a little bit easier too, and to give it that signature breakfast sausage kind of flavor. So this is gonna keep cooking as we do our roux. So I'm gonna call that good for the sausage itself. We're gonna add our butter next, if I can find where it opens. And we're gonna get that fully melted. So let's just stir that around. I'm gonna turn my heat down a little bit, because it doesn't need to be crazy hot. We just wanna melt this butter to start a nice base for our roux. A roux is where you cook an oil with your flour, almost like a glue. You're gonna make a paste out of that. And then when you add your liquid, it will thicken up into a gravy. However long you cook your flour will incorporate more flavor. So we're gonna sprinkle our flour in kind of evenly, and our seasonings. Oh, it smells so good. And we're going to saute this. The flour is gonna soak up all of that liquid, all of the oil, all of the butter, all of that fat and grease. And it's gonna cook that flour. It's gonna get that raw flour flavor out, and it's gonna build a good roux. We wanna cook this for about 2 minutes. So here's the building blocks of our gravy. We've got our fat, we've got our flour, we've got our seasoning, and our pork. We're gonna keep this moving so that the flour doesn't burn. And then we're gonna add our milk and have delicious gravy before we know it. I wish you could smell this right now. It smells so good. You want your temperature relatively low for this so you don't scorch your roux. And I would say this is probably good. I'm gonna call that good and add my milk. 2 minutes flies by. We're gonna slowly add our milk, and we're not gonna add all of it at once. I'm gonna start with just about 1.5 cups. You're gonna immediately notice it thicken. Okay, let's start there. We can always add more. So you wanna really scrape and stir to get all that flour dissolved in the milk. Milk has a tendency to heat up very quickly, so keep your eye on this. Don't walk away. Mine has already come to a simmer. I'm gonna just keep stirring this. Now this is gonna need to continue to cook for about 3 to 5 minutes until it's nice and thick. If it ends up being too thick, you can always add more milk. If it's not thick enough, you just let it cook longer. This is definitely starting to thicken up. It smells so good. Slowly but surely, this is turning into a gravy. I wish you could smell this. So I think we're just about done here, because it is going to continue to thicken as it cools. The fact that I can go like this and see the pan for a brief moment after scraping by tells me that we've got a really good consistency. Sticks to the spoon, and it's just going to continue to thicken as it sets more. So I'm going to call that good. So we have our completed biscuits. They turned out so stinking cute. They don't smell like 7-Up. I'm going to cut a biscuit out. These have cooled completely. Beautiful color. And you're supposed to cut the biscuit open like that. Gorgeous. We've got our completed gravy, nice and thick and silky. Smells so savory. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, let's bring our plate here. And we'll just do 2 little scoops. Let's get a close-up. Here is our completed dish. Some beautifully golden brown biscuits, some thick, luxurious and savory sausage and gravy. Ugh, let's dig in, my friends. The only thing left is to taste it. So, let's do it. I love words. It's just such a perfect meal. It's such a perfect concoction. The biscuit itself is not sweet at all. No sweetness, none. It's fantastic. It's buttery, it's flaky, it's tender. Let's try it by itself. No, I would have never guessed there was 7-Up in that biscuit at all. Just tastes buttery. All you get is butter. And it melts in the mouth. The gravy is savory, a little spicy from that black pepper. I did fresh cracked black pepper, so it has a little more bite. The sausage is sweet, but just so deliciously savory. That gravy is just like liquid gold. Okay. Ooh. I'm gonna have to make this more often. It was not hard, and it tasted so good. So I think this will be a breakfast for dinner option that we do pretty regularly now. It's so good. All right, so I think I'm gonna go. I am gonna take this plate into a quiet place and indulge. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I really enjoyed making it. This was definitely fun and different in every way. 7-Up, like who would have thought? So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment down below some recipes you'd like me to try out, subscribe, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Thank you, love you. Mwah. Bye-bye.